Hi, welcome to CG Dive. So we have our rigged character, we have the animations, and we bake them to the game rig. We are ready to move the character to Unreal. I'm going to show you how to export your rigged assets using the Send to Unreal add-on, which is an add-on developed by the creators of Unreal Engine. And I strongly recommend that you use this tool. But I'm also going to show you the manual FBX export and import workflow. And at the end, I'm going to try to compare the results you get using each approach. If you want to get early access to CG Dive videos, check out Patreon, Gumroad, and YouTube memberships. Let's start with Send to Unreal. The add-on is completely free, but downloading it is not very straightforward. So I'll try to cover this quickly. There is a blog post on the Unreal Engine website. If you follow the links here, you should be able to download the add-on, but I'm going to try to make it even easier for you. Basically, there are two things that you absolutely need. You need a free GitHub account and also a free account on epicgames.com. For the GitHub account, just go to github.com, click on sign up and follow the process. I already have an account, so I'm simply going to sign in. On epicgames.com, similarly, click on sign in here. And then if you have an account, sign in. And if you don't, click on sign up. Choose a preferred way to sign up and follow the procedure. I'm sure you're familiar with signing up for services. Usually you need to confirm your email address at the end. If you don't get the confirmation email, look in your spam folder and so on and so forth. Since I have a Epic Game account, I'm simply going to sign in. Okay, but that's not all. You can download the add-on from this link that I'm going to share with you in the description. It's github.com/epicgames/blendertools. If I go to this address now, I'll be greeted with this error message. And that is because I need to link my Epic Games account to my GitHub account. There is another blog post on the Unreal Engine website, which I'm also going to link to, and it is going to guide you through this process. But basically what you need to do is go to the Epic Games website, go to your account, go to Connections, Accounts, and find the GitHub service and click on Connect. Then you need to click Link Accounts. This window will pop up, and for you it may be a little bit different. It may ask you to click another button to confirm something, and then you'll probably get an email from GitHub asking you to confirm the connection of the accounts again, and then it should be all set up. Once it is set up, you'll see that the accounts have been linked. And now if I go again to the Blender Tools GitHub page and refresh it, I'll be able to access the tools. Scroll down, click on Download, and download the latest Send to Unreal zip file. Not the source code, but this send to UE.zip. Okay, if you scroll down, you may find UE to Rigify. And depending on when you look at the website, this UE to Rigify may be on the top. So just scroll down and find the latest Send to Unreal and download that. And that's the whole process. I hope it was clear. I hope this overview was helpful. Once the add-on is downloaded, you can activate it in Blender as any other add-on. You would simply go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons tab, click Install, go to the folder where you saved the add-on, look for Send, and make sure you choose the latest version if you have more than one, and click Install Add-on. And then click on the checkbox to activate the add-on. As soon as you activate the add-on, two things happened. One, this additional pipeline menu appeared, and the add-on added 4 collections to your scene: Mesh, Rig, Collision, and Extras. Send to Unreal needs these 4 collections to function properly, so do not delete them. If we go back to the add-ons options and click this triangle, we can expand some options, and the add-on has a lot of options that you can tweak. But the nice thing is that it tends to work out of the box. And so I'm not going to cover any of these additional options. We're just going to work with the defaults, and that is going to work. The only thing that I'm going to note is that if you go under General, there is the option to automatically create predefined add-on collections. And that is these 4 collections that we saw: Mesh, Rig, Collision, Extras. If you keep this option checked, the add-on will automatically create these 4 collections every time you open Blender. So every time you open a new scene, every time you load a scene, these collections will be added. And I generally don't like this, so I uncheck this option. I uncheck it because I don't always work with Unreal and I don't like having random collections in every file that I open. However, that also means that these 4 collections will not be automatically created for you when you do need them. So the best way to handle this for me is, if I ever need these collections, for example, I'm going to delete them here, I can just go to Pipeline and press Create Predefined Collections, and that will create these collections whenever I need them. And that's all on the Blender side of things, but we also have to set up our Unreal project so that it can receive data from Blender. So first I want to create a new Unreal Engine project. For that I'm going to use the Epic Games launcher. Explaining how to download the launcher and the engine will kind of take me away from the main topic of this video, so I'll just assume that you have the engine. Do notice the engine version that I have, and if you follow along, install the same version and launch the engine. Okay, from here you can select your existing projects or create a new one. I'm going to want to create a new one, and I'm going to choose a games project, click Next, and I'm going to choose the blank preset. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to set up this character that we created as a third-person character. And it may be tempting to use the third-person preset. But when I was learning this stuff, I saw a lot of tutorials which were doing just that. They were using the third-person preset and reusing some of the existing blueprints and assets, and I kind of found this confusing. So we are going to build everything from scratch. And I think that way you'll learn more and you'll learn it better. So I'll click Next, and I'll choose no starter content, and other than that, I'll keep these settings. I'm going to call my project Basic Workflow or something like that. I already used this name in my tests, so I'm going to name it Basic Workflow 2 and click on Create Project. And here is our very bare bones project. We're going to be working with the engine itself in the next video. In this one, I simply want to set up the project so that it can receive data from Blender. So here's what we need to do. First, we need to go to Edit, Plugins, and look for Python. You'll find the Python Editor Script plugin, enable it, and press Yes. And then also look for Editor Scripting Utilities and enable it again, press Yes. And now to really enable these plugins, you need to restart the engine. Click on Restart Now. Once the engine has restarted, go to Edit, Project Settings, search for Remote Execution and enable Remote Execution. And that's actually all you need to do. Optionally, you can go to Edit, Editor Preferences, and search for CPU and verify if Use Less CPU when in background is checked or unchecked. If you keep it unchecked, it will make the transfer of data between Blender and Unreal a little bit faster, but the engine will keep using resources when you're not using it. So it's up to you what you want to do with this option. I'm going to keep it unchecked. And now I'm going to reorganize my windows so that I can see both Unreal and Blender at the same time. And now I just need to place anything that I want to export from Blender to Unreal in one of those 4 collections that the add-on created for us. In this case, we only have a mesh and a rig, so we are only going to use those 2 collections, and the other ones we may explore in another video, but do not delete these collections that you don't need. The add-on needs all of them to function properly. So now I'm going to hide the control rig, select my character, press M in the 3D viewport and move it to the mesh collection. And then I'm going to select the root armature, which is my game rig. Turn on X-ray so that I can see it. Press M and move it to the rig collection. And now my rigged character is ready for export. If I go to Pipeline, Export, Send to Unreal, this character will be sent to Unreal. However, there is one thing that we need to check, and that is the NLA. Basically, the add-on will try to export all actions that you have in the NLA for this armature. And you need to be really careful not to have start any of the tracks, like I have here, for example. So I'm going to uncheck this star. Other than that, with the default options for the add-on, you can even uncheck some of these actions and they will still be exported. So basically, any action that you want to export, you need to push to the NLA. Now with this setup, if I go to Pipeline, Export, Send to Unreal, and wait a few seconds, the export and import process will happen automatically. A new folder was created for me. And as you can see, the character and the animations were exported. So pretty easy. Just place anything that you want to export in one of the 4 collections: Mesh, Rig, Collision, and Extras. Whether you have the objects that you want to export selected or not doesn't matter. The collections do the job of deciding what is exported and what isn't. You should place all actions that you want to export in the NLA for your game armature. It actually doesn't matter how the actions are organized in the NLA. It can be something like this. This will still export fine, but you shouldn't star any of these tracks. If there is a star on any of the tracks, remove it. Also, as a reminder, the game rig that you are exporting should have the constraints to the control rig disabled. As you can see, all of the copy location and copy rotation constraints for my game rig are disabled. Also, you should have Blender and your Unreal project running at the same time. The Unreal window doesn't need to be visible like this. I'm just showing it here for clarity. And I'd also recommend that you only have one Unreal project running. You can open multiple Unreal projects at the same time, but then it's not very clear which one will receive the assets from Blender. If you follow these guidelines, then Pipeline, Export, Send to Unreal will do the rest for you. Next, I'm going to cover the manual FBX export. For that, I'm going to undo these changes that I did to the NLA. How you organize the actions in the NLA actually doesn't matter for the manual export either, but with the manual export, I want to be a little bit more organized. Also for manual export, I need to tick all tracks that I want to export. All actions that I want to export need to be enabled in the NLA. Other than that, the same rules apply. Keep the constraints to the control rig disabled so that the actual actions that we bake to the game rig will come through and not any action that may be on the control rig. To export a rigged character from Blender to Unreal, we have to export 2 FBX files. I think it can actually be done with just one FBX, but you'll get more stable results using 2 FBX files. The first FBX file will be just the character in the default T-pose without any animations, so it will simply contain the mesh and the skeleton. And the second FBX file will contain the animations. So I'm going to select the game armature, my root armature, go to the armature tab, and place the character in rest position. Then I'm going to shift select the character mesh so that I have the armature and the character mesh selected at the same time. Then go to File, Export FBX. And here I want to name my FBX file something like skm, which stands for skeletal mesh _ racer. And now I want to set up my FBX settings. Always activate selected objects only. That way only the selected objects will be exported. And all other objects in the scene will be ignored. Just for good measure, you may want to select armature here and also shift click on mesh. That way only armatures and meshes will be exported. The transform options I generally leave alone. Under geometry, if you want your smoothing to come through the same way it is in Blender, you should change smoothing to face. Under armature, disable add leave bones. I think this option is useful for when exporting to Maya, but I could be wrong. But for game armatures, you don't need leave bones. You can also leave only deform bones alone. Since our game armature is free from any unnecessary bones, we can simply export the whole armature and it's going to be fine. And then for the skeletal mesh, you want to disable bake animation. You don't want to export any animations yet. And if you're going to do this often, you may want to save a preset. So if you click on the plus sign, you can create a new preset. I'm going to call it UE4 Skeletal Mesh, for example, and click OK. And now even if I reset the default options, I can always go to my UE4 preset, and that will give me exactly the options that I want. Now I can click Export FBX. And now I want to export the second FBX file, which will contain the animations, the actions that I want to export. For this step, it is very important to bring the armature back to pose position. Otherwise, the character is just standing in rest position and the animations won't be exported properly. Okay, then again, shift click the character as well, and then go to File, Export FBX. And the settings that we used for the skeletal mesh will work perfectly. The only big difference is that now we want to bake animations. And under the additional options, uncheck all actions. All actions means all actions in this blend file. And that would try to export, for example, the actions that we had on the control rig. I think poses in the pose library are actually also considered actions. You may have all sorts of actions in your blend file that you don't want to export. So if you uncheck this action and only keep NLA strips checked, then only the actions that we push to the NLA will be exported. Some people recommend setting simplify to 0 here. And if you get any problems like sliding feet and your animations in Unreal not looking quite like they look in Blender, you can play with this option, but generally I keep it to the default and it works fine for me. That's all. I'm going to name my second FBX racer_animations and export it. Okay, here are the FBX files in my work folder. I'm going to go into my Unreal project in the main content folder and create a new folder, and I'm going to call it FBX, just FBX. And now I can just drag and drop the skeletal mesh without the animations. Press the reset to default button. The default settings are exactly what you need, and then press import. And now we have a skeletal mesh in Unreal. The material and textures were also imported. And now to import the animations, I can drag and drop the animations FBX file. And again, I'm going to keep the options almost to default. I just want to make sure that the correct skeleton is being used. So the name of the skeleton that you see here should be the same as the skeleton that was just imported. And then you also want to click import animations so that the animations are imported. And then click import. And that's the manual FBX export and import process. I'm going to create a new folder here by right-clicking and call it animations. And I'm going to move these animations to the animations folder, just so that they are organized the same way as the assets that Send to Unreal created. Now, if I unhide the source panel, I can easily switch between the folders of my FBX import and the Send to Unreal import. It seems like the second FBX import imported these additional skeletal mesh and physics mesh, which I don't need. I'm going to delete those. And now we are going to have the exact same assets in the Send to Unreal folder and in the FBX folder. Now I can actually maximize my Unreal project to focus on it. And now in the next part of this video, we are actually going to set up this character as a playable character. But one easy way to preview your animations is to simply go to your animation assets and drag them into the scene. So this is my FBX jump animation. And on the other side, I'm going to place the same jump animation that was exported using send to Unreal, and I'm going to press play. And as you can see, there is virtually no difference between the models and the animation. We can try another one like the walk. Let's delete this actually. So here I'm going to place the one from send to Unreal. And here's the walk from the FBX export. And again, we have seemingly identical results. So as you can see, both approaches work with relative ease. Send to Unreal is a little bit easier, and send to Unreal also has a couple of additional advantages. For example, if I open the physics asset created with the manual FBX approach, and then I'll also open the one created by send to Unreal so that we can compare them. This is the one created by send to Unreal, and as you can see, the physics objects that were automatically created are very close to the actual shape of the body. And these are the physical objects created with the manual FBX export and import. As you can see, most of the bones weren't detected, and the capsules that were created kind of cover the general shape of the character, but not the individual limbs and the torso and so on. But that's not the end of the world. You can easily rebuild these physics objects. You can set them up manually, and even the one created by send to Unreal, which looked a little bit better, will also need some sort of manual cleanup to really work well. So there are little problems like that with the manual FBX export and import, and that is why I recommend send to Unreal, because it fixes all these problems. And that's the important part of this video. In the next one, we are going to set up the Unreal project so that the character that we created can run around and jump in a small map. And I created a few very simple objects that I'm going to use in that map. And I thought I'd also show you how to export static meshes using send to Unreal, which is really simple, much simpler than exporting rigged characters. I just have these simple objects. They don't even have proper UVs. I applied a very simple material to all of them. A grayish material. Actually, I'm going to make it more gray. Alright, now from pipeline, I'm going to create my folders. And since all of my objects are simple meshes, I'm just going to select all of them and place them in the mesh folder and press send to Unreal. And now if I go to my Unreal project, these objects will be available. And we are going to work with them and the main character in the next video. Thank you for watching, and special thanks to my supporters. If you want to watch CG Dive videos before everyone else and get other bonuses, you can join us on Patreon, Gumroad, and YouTube memberships. Please click like and subscribe with notifications so that you never miss another video, and talk to you in the next one.